Senate Finance Chairman Jason Barrett. Good morning, JB. How are you?
Good morning, guys.
Good to have you, man. What do you think about my idea of having the two worst teams play on the final week of Monday Night Football?
Well, I'm glad that you had the stipulation that it's the worst teams not making the playoffs, because
Yes.
I know who the worst team making the playoffs is right at this moment. So.
The Ravens, right?
I hope that's the case on Saturday night, but I have my doubts.
This forecast for Saturday has changed a couple different times. Initially, they were calling for 1 to 3 inches Saturday. Then yesterday afternoon, it went up to 7 or 8 inches of snow Saturday. And then this morning I saw it was back down.
I hope it snows a foot and the wind's blowing, and the Steelers are going to need any equalizer they can get. So we'll take it all.
I'll take it. Hey, you are the finance chair. This is a promotion for you, so to speak. You were recently named that. I know you've been on finance committees before in the House, and I think your first year in the Senate, too. Tell me about this position as finance chair and what the responsibilities of the finance chairman would be.
Sure. Well, I'm certainly honored that President-elect Smith has named me the finance chairman. As I said before, our caucus is full of talented and bright individuals, and so to be selected out of that group is certainly an honor for me. And my passion has, as Rob, as I think you know, has been the Finance Committee and the state's finances and making sure that we can balance the budget, which is we're constitutionally mandated to do, unlike the federal government, and be able to create efficiencies or find efficiencies in government and be able to return tax dollars to the people of West Virginia, which I'm extremely proud this legislature has done with over $750 million. But as the finance chairman, the number one responsibility is getting that budget out. We're only obligated, the legislature is only obligated to do one thing during the session, and that is to pass a balanced budget. So that's the primary role of the finance chairman, is to make sure that budget's put together, obviously with input from the Finance Committee, from our caucus of 32 Republicans now in the Senate, work with my counterpart in the House to make sure that we can get an agreement that the House will support and obviously that the governor will support. So usually in the first 30 days of the Finance Committee, what happens is we bring every state agency in, virtually every cabinet secretary comes in, and they go through and field questions from the Finance Committee about the proposed budget from the governor. And I'm really interested to hear from the agency heads with our new governor, because I think there may be a little bit of a different mentality than what we've seen over the past 8 years. I think we're going to get a lot more buy-in from our new governor, Governor Morrissey, to go in and really look into the state agencies, figure out where we can create efficiencies. And we've done that over the past several years, but we really haven't had the type of buy-in from the executive branch that I think that we're going to get with our new governor. So, but really back to your question, my job moving forward is to really scrutinize every bill that comes to the committee, figure out what the fiscal impact of those bills are, get with the caucus, and facilitate what their agenda really is, and making sure that as we pass legislation, that it's not detrimental to our state's budget.
Jason, you were in the House on the Finance Committee and now in the Senate. Can you tell me if there's a difference between how the two function and operate, respective to how the House Finance Committee would operate versus the Senate Finance Committee?
They're different, and some of that comes from having different chairmen of the committee. Every chairman runs their committee a little differently, so that's and I'm not critical of either one of them. I think it's just different ways, and certainly the Senate operates a little differently than the House does. The Senate, we have a lot of conversations, and because there are fewer members, and so I'm not taking a shot here at the House, but because there are fewer members of the Senate, it's easier to gauge where your membership is on particular issues. A lot of times we go into committee, we've had conversations in our entire Senate Republican caucus where, we know where people are on specific bills. We know some concerns that maybe some members have. And when you're in the House, there are just so many more members, and it's hard to do that. So, you probably see a lot more of the concerns and how the sausage is made in the House, primarily because there are so many more members, a lot of different opinions, and it's just, like I said, I don't think there's a right or wrong way to do it. I just think that the Senate, is a little more efficient because of the fewer members that we have, and because we're able to have those conversations before the meeting starts to really understand, where our membership is on a particular issue, and we have a lot more staff help in the Senate. We virtually probably have the same amount of staff as the House does, but a third of the members who are able to have more access to staff and get more assistance from staff than House members are. Who
is your vice chair, and did you select the vice chair, or did Randy Smith, the Senate president, select the vice chair?
My vice chairman is going to be Roland Roberts, who's a senator from Raleigh County. President Smith told me several weeks ago, maybe over a month, 2 months ago, maybe I don't remember the date. I guess it was a month ago at this point that I was going to, not long after he secured enough votes to be the Senate president, that he was going to name me the chairman of the committee. He indicated that he had wanted some of my input on who the vice chair was going to be. He had a couple of folks that he was considering. There were a couple that I would have considered if it was my choice. But ultimately, we both, came to an agreement, and was happy to have Senator Roberts serve as the vice chairman. So, it was a conversation that he and I had, and he was certainly leaning towards Senator Roberts, and I said, I have absolutely no problems working with Senator Roberts. He and I actually sit next to one another on the Senate floor currently. So
I have to name you king of political maneuvering, because somehow you supported Eric Tarr as Senate president, and somehow you still came out with a major chairmanship with his opponent winning.
Well, I think you're probably giving me more credit than I deserve. I think it's more of I think it speaks more to Randy Smith than it does to me. I think that what Randy is really looking to do, and what I think he's going to be very successful at, is uniting the caucus. In the restaurant business, when you get really busy, we have to put the right people in the right spot, and we call them putting your aces in your places. And I think that what Randy's doing is looking at everybody's skill set, figuring out who can best serve in specific roles. And I think he's putting that and putting the caucus ahead of any political rivalry or political or the Senate president's race. So I think I appreciate the compliment, but I think it speaks more to Randy than it does Jason.
Thank you, King Jason. Go ahead, John.
Hey, Jason, this is John. Good morning.
Hey, John. Good morning.
Now that there's we got a new governor, we've got a new session, we've got supermajority. When it comes time as finance chair, is the primary goal, you want to balance the budget, but where does the circle start? Is it finding a way to make the governor's priorities work, or does it start with, this is how much money we have that we can spend, and what programs can we make work out of that? Does that make sense?
Kind of. I think the answer, the first part of that is, certainly the governor's going to give his budget to the legislature. He's going to have his list of priorities. I think what I would like to do is get with the finance committee, get with our caucus, figure out, see where we're going to give deference to the governor to try to work with his agenda as much as we possibly can. We're all on the same team here, but we have to be mindful of how much money we have to spend too. And I think, Governor Morrissey is a proven conservative. I don't think, he's going to be a governor where we have to try to rein in his spending. I just don't think that's the path that we're going to have to go down. So, I'm looking to look at his agenda, to see what his priorities are, get with our caucus, and really, get some direction from them about what the priorities are, what our mutual priorities are with the governor and the House, and working together. And obviously the Senate's going to have, we're going to have our list of priorities too. And, I think it will be a good working relationship with the Senate leadership, House leadership, and the governor. But there will be a number that I have in mind, as it relates to what our general revenue budget spend is going to be, and what I've talked to President Smith about when he asked me to take the job, is that, look, I'll go along with whatever the priorities of the caucus are. That's the direction we're going to go in. But I'm going to be I'm mindful and adamant about a specific number, and that I don't want to go over that number because, our natural growth in our economy is about, our state budget is about $150 million a year. We really spent a little more than that over the past 2 years. You've seen that our revenue numbers are more in line with estimates, and we're not having these huge surpluses the way that we have in the past. So, I think it's incredibly important, to keep that budget spend at the appropriate level.
Hey, I just got this. I want to pass this along real quick. The Martinsburg Cooperative Parish of the United Methodist Churches, Otterbein, St. Luke's, and Trinity offices will be closed today due to the weather. Just got that information. Go ahead, John.
Have you the number, whatever it is? Not going to share it on the air, and that's fine. But have you shared it with the House Finance Chairman so that y'all know where y'all are coming from?
Well, I haven't, and we're going to. I'm going to allow the governor to come out with his budget, see where that number lands, see what his priorities are. I know the House Finance Chairman very well, Vernon Chris. Served on the House Finance Committee when he was the vice chairman. So he and I have a really good working relationship. I think that we'll work extremely well together. So at the appropriate time, I think we'll have those conversations. We just haven't had the appropriate time yet.
Mr. Bodwell.
Jason.
Yes, sir.
How are you doing, man? It's good to talk to you.
I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm good. I ate at your restaurant last week.
Okay.
Which one? He has many.
Well, yeah, he does have many. I had one of those breakfast sandwiches. It was excellent.
One of the biscuits the size of your head.
Tudors.
Tudor. Oh yeah,
Tudors.
Tudors. Yeah, it was phenomenal as always. And then I had to go walk a lot. Let me ask this. As the finance chairman, when you have a supermajority, a huge supermajority, that's got to make it more difficult because I would think every member has people in their district or things that they want where people in their district would push back on them and say, wait a second, you guys have a supermajority. Why can't you get this or this or this pushed through for us? So you have to push back much harder against your own party and against members of your own party, which I think would be far more difficult than if it was, a little closer and you're pushing back against people who are not within your caucus.
Sure. I think that goes without saying. I expect, their members will have specific pieces of legislation that are great ideas that frankly cost too much money as it relates to our state budget. And, as the finance chairman, you just have to say no at times. And again, if the direction of the caucus says, hey, we want to do this, this is an important idea. It's great for the state of West Virginia. Yeah, it costs a little bit of money, but it's our priority. And so we'll figure out, I think, a way to get some of those things done. We'll have to figure out how to create some efficiencies, how to save money somewhere else. But, our caucus has really been strong as it relates to trying to figure out and trying to save money, trying to give money back to the people of West Virginia, and not create things that cost a lot of money that don't have, frankly, the return that you would expect. So, our caucus is very mindful of our bottom line budget and what it takes to be able to return tax dollars to the people of West Virginia. And I think that is ultimately our goal.
Well, and I think having a governor like Patrick Morrisey will make your job easier because he is a proven fiscal conservative. He's not going to try to break the bank with his budget. He's going to be, he's going to be a smart fiscal conservative, which is what he is. So, which won't put as much pressure on you as the Senate chairman. What do you think about that?
Well, I think the new governor, and again, not to say anything critical of our current governor, but I think our next governor, Patrick Morrisey, will, be a lot more hands-on. I think he'll be a lot more predictable. So I think that, I certainly have a good, really good working relationship with Patrick. And, I think this will be kind of more of a team working together than, in times over the past 8 years, we all know that, sometimes it was the House and the governor against the Senate. Sometimes it was the Senate and the governor versus the House. And sometimes it was the entire legislature versus the governor. And, so I'm hoping that we can kind of get away from that and work together. And so, I think certainly President Smith is someone that first and foremost wants to be a team player, work together. So I think that we'll be extremely successful.
You've used the word efficiency a number of times in this interview. Where do you find the greatest inefficiency? Where are the targets?
Well, each agency is different, and there are a lot of agencies where, one of the issues that I've always had is a member of the Finance Committee is that we fund all FTEs, all full-time employees, all whether they're just vacancies or whether they're individuals working there. We've funded those, and that's kind of a cushion that those agencies have had because they can't fill specific positions. So, if there are duplicative services within a couple of different agencies, there are some agencies where, you may have 3 or 4 employees, essentially just one kind of overseeing every step of the way from the other one. There's a program, and I don't want to say it because they're not on here to be able to, to argue back. But there's a program that deals with young children, and there's obviously a worker that comes in the home, works for that child, and then there are 2 or 3 people above that person that all they kind of do is just check in, and there's somebody checking the checker constantly, and I think that that's not a good use of state resources at times. So I think there are a lot of ways that we've really gone in and saved money for the state of West Virginia, but the legislature is only there for 60 days, and we only have the ability to go in and do as much of that as the agency will cooperate. And when you have a governor that's on board with finding those things, I think it makes it a lot easier.
I remember when Republicans took the majority, that word cooperate and cooperation from the state agencies, Jason, we used to hear that a lot when it came to discussions of how to find out where the money was going. Well, we can't get cooperation. They won't release this information, or it takes forever to get it. Has that improved since Republicans have reestablished a supermajority?
It has improved, and it's improved because, I'll give Governor Justice some credit here and his senior staff, that there have been times in the past couple of years where, you get a department head or an agency head that kind of wants to slow roll, get you information. You call downstairs to the governor's office, talk to the chief of staff and said, hey, I need some help with this or that. And he gets right on it, and he's been extremely helpful in that. When this governor first was elected in the first session or two, I just felt, as a member of the Finance Committee, we were trying to get some answers, and that's when, the governor came out with these huge tax cuts that the vast majority of the legislature we were opposed to, or tax increases that the vast majority of our the legislature was opposed to. And I just felt like at times we were trying to talk to these agencies. We were trying to get specific answers to questions to figure out a way to save money. And they really just want to run the clock out on you in 60 days. They just delay. But that really has changed over the past number of years. There's a lot of cooperation, I think, with state agencies. But again, they are agencies under the executive branch. So they ultimately answer to the governor with everything except for appropriations, which the legislature does.
Jason, let me switch gears just for a little bit, because you are the Senate Finance Chair, but you are also a state senator representing us here in the Martinsburg area, representing us here in the Eastern Panhandle. What do you want to see come up and get pushed through that will benefit us here locally in the Eastern Panhandle the most?
And make sure locality pay are 2 of the words that you use.
And make sure locality pay are both of the words that you use, the only 2 words.
Yeah, and that's something that we've worked on for a number of years. Actually got a bill passed out of the Senate 2 years ago, and the House just had a battle over, and they just couldn't get the votes for, especially without having a 2 or 3 hour debate first. We've always come at this as the approach of the cost of housing, and I'm not sure that is the right way to do it. I just don't think we can get the votes that way. I think it has to be about the market rate and competing with whether that's surrounding areas, whether that's the private sector, even in West Virginia. We have to make it more, and we have to give flexibility to these state agencies to be able to give some type of locality pay, but don't make it that it's totally aimed at helping the Eastern Panhandle and not other areas of the state, and not just because of housing. Because when you look at housing prices across West Virginia, you look at Montague County, you look at Morgan, Berkeley, Jefferson. Certainly, they're starting to rise in the Hampshire-Hardy area. But a lot of the state, property values have really stayed stagnant for a long time. And, those counties that I just mentioned, there are not enough members of the legislature from those areas to get enough votes for anything. So I think it really has to be about competing and being able to recruit and retain employees. And maybe some of that's in southern West Virginia. Maybe some of that's in the northern Panhandle or north central West Virginia. So I think we have to give flexibility to the agency, and we have to, not make this about one specific region because that has just failed for a decade or more. So I think that there's a path forward, but I think it's going to be a little unconventional, compared to the way that we've done it before.
Well, I gotta say, I think one way to come at it is we talk about the state budget and all the money we have, and that we're growing by, I guess, 1.5 million or something here and there. And one of the reasons we're growing is the huge influx of high earners moving into the Eastern Panhandle, who are making, D.C. area, Maryland area salaries. They're moving up here. They're paying state income tax, and that is what is adding to the coffers that helps the entire state.
Gilstrap alone amounted to 10% of the surplus last year.
I knew something was coming there.
If we don't keep up with schools and stuff like that, people are going to stop moving here, and we're going to stop getting all those extra tax dollars that benefit all of those other counties. That is the benefit to the other counties.
Jason, I have 1 minute left. The final minute is yours.
Well, John, I certainly understand and appreciate that point of view. We have been making that case.
I know you have.
A number of years. One of the things that I think we have to look at is the way we did correctional officers, and we really made that about areas of critical need. Doesn't take into consideration cost of housing or anything like that. But obviously in the Eastern Panhandle, where we have those things, we have all this competition, it's harder to attract people. So I think that's the direction we have to go to be able to implement locality pay.
Jason, congratulations on being Senate Finance Chair. Thank you for your time this morning.
Thanks, guys. Take care.
Chris,
talking to
you gone? Yeah, he's gone. He had to go. All right. So I was going to ask him another question real quick, but can't do it now.